Born in the heart of Wisconsin, where tradition runs deep and good stories start around a tailgate. Join your host, Eric Tasker, and former Major League pitcher Paul Wagner as they dive into hunting, fishing, conservation, and the great outdoors, and share the stories that come with it. Because out here, it's more than a pastime. It's a way of life. Everything outdoors, and the stories that make good memories. This is Tailgate Talk.
Okay, here we go. Oh, boy. All right, so we're starting off the show kind of exciting. Wagner is showing me pictures probably of a buck that I hit in the neck. Oh, man. Mr. Paul Wagner, Eric Tasker here. It's Tailgate Talk. And, yeah, I feel like this, I guess we haven't really talked about this, but with the holidays next week, and then maybe we could do one between Christmas and New Year's, but this may very well be our last show for the year.
Yeah, probably.
And I guess we can just do like a cheers. I think this is 4 years. 4 years of doing this show.
It is kind of crazy. It
Isn't
is kind
that
of
weird?
crazy. It is.
It seems like it's most of the time, to be honest, it feels like we've been doing this a lot longer than 4 years. But here we are. It's like episode 206, 207, something like that. And, yeah, the heater's on. It's cold. Boy, it's cold.
Yes, I know. It's my fault. It was warm the last few days, so I went out there and I turned the gauge down from, I have a 3-system thing, 1, 2, or 3, and 3 being the hottest. And I put that sucker around 1 and not realizing that the temperature was going to drop almost 30 degrees,
right.
40 degrees. So, but yeah, no, we're warming up, and it is. But going back to how many episodes we had, for you guys and from everybody who's been involved since the start, it was pretty much part of your routine. I mean, you guys were in the office. You guys
right.
were at iHeart. You were at the studio. You were there. You guys would have your sales meetings, or you'd do this, or you'd do that. You guys come down and meet in one of the studios that we had assigned to us. And when the guys moved to a different one, we had a different one. We were in the Packer one. We were in the old Iron Jack one. But I think for me, it was always wherever I was. I would come in when I could.
Yeah.
But I was always also found on the road wherever I was. And I think that's
sometimes in Canada.
Yeah.
Sometimes in Texas. Boy, we've covered a lot of ground with this show.
You really look back at it, I'm like, gosh, 4 years of that. It's been pretty crazy. But yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but I think our rendition that we have right now, this next generation, I like it. I mean, it's nice. It's just two guys sitting in the barn, and we'll take the show on the road here in the coming weeks and months. But it's been a lot of fun. So, and we've already reflected on kind of everything that we've gone through, and I think we've got some exciting stuff coming up. I think we can officially say now that we're headed to ATA.
Yes.
Our friend Chris Ham, who was on the show last week, which, by the way, it feels like that was even a month ago.
Right, and that was 10 days ago?
Yeah, it was not that long ago.
No.
So we'll be going to ATA. So if there's anybody going to ATA, and I mean, I'll post about it. And I know there's some people that I'm excited to meet down there. And I know Raven from Buck Rub's going to be down there. Our friends, the Okayest Hunters, are going to be down there. Eric Clark, who kind of runs the show over there, he's going to be there. But I mean, it's kind of something that we've talked about and that we've tried to get into for how many years. And they're like, these morons, they don't need to come down for that.
What are these guys?
And so we didn't ask, we didn't call in a favor. Chris just so kindly was like, don't even worry about it. We've got you covered. We've got badges. You just let me know when you're going to be there, and we'll include you on everything that we got going on. So we've got the industry night on Wednesday night with Chase Rice and all the awards that get put out. So it'll be really cool because that's like really the like premier part of the week. You can find out who wins Best in Show and just some of that stuff. But we'll get Wednesday and Thursday down there that we'll have a chance to walk the show floor and to be able to just meet some people and talk to some of the vendors and see some of the new products that are out there.
I thought that was kind of neat. That part that he said, obviously they are going to be busy as heck.
Right.
But we don't, it's not like he even basically told you, we don't need to be sitting at their booth.
Right.
Basically, he's giving us the free pass to walk around, talk to people, find relationships, build them, get people for our show, do stuff, see what's going on before the public gets there, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and we're excited to go, but I think it's just something that we've talked about doing for a couple years now, and we finally get a chance to do it. So I can't wait to see what it's all about.
Right.
And I think it'll be a lot of fun. A nice little road trip, little 4.5 hour maybe from here, but easy in and out. Like a 48-hour whirlwind, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe by that time we won't have to buy Yingling in Indiana. We'll be able to buy it here. Because I think that's what they said is January.
Is that what they said?
Start getting distributed here. So, but it's about time. I mean, come on, Yingling.
Yes.
So, well, Mr. Wagner, like I said, it feels like a month ago that we recorded our last show, and we kind of dropped it early with the new site being released on Tuesday with HHA. What's been going on, man? You had a little, it was like we lived in Miami or we were in Florida for 2 days, and now all of a sudden we're back in the Northwoods.
Well, now when you come in through the cold side, you come in through the barn where, the tables are set up and the games and stuff. And I realize that hunting season's coming to a conclusion, and I need to clean up. I mean, it was so nice, for that, from opening of bow to that certain time, I just bring things out, pull it out, put it on those rolling tables.
Yep.
You grab this. You need gutting gloves. You need heat warmers for your hand. They're all there. Anything you want. Anybody who came over, it was always there. Candy, food, waters.
5-pound tanks for the heaters once we got to the back half here.
But now I got to clean it up. And I look at it, and I'm like, not like in a bad way, but I remember when I had my place up in Eagle River, it was, let's go. What's the boat? Well, I put my pier in on this date, and I take my pier out on this date, right?
Yeah.
You take your pier out. That's what you do. You take your dock out. Nobody's there on those days. But everybody's there in the middle when they say, hey, let's go for a boat ride, know? And I'm like, gosh, I'm coming to the end of the season, and this is the time when you have to clean up and, put it away for a year. And that's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you can say that, and I don't have to feel guilty about not being here for any part of it, because it was fun coming out here and, trimming some lanes and getting stung by wasps and cleaning out the rednecks here at the beginning part of the season. But and even still being here at the end of December, right before Christmas, middle of December, a lot of people still have like 6 weeks to go.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
And so for those metro subunit areas, there is still some time through the end of January to be able to go out and still be able to try and fill some tags.
So here we've harvested a lot of animals. We've talked about it. We've all got ours. We have one of our buddies still needs one. When can he come out? But we are in that unit till January 31st. So, he will do that. But other than that, that'll be our last animal taken. As we've already applied, as we know, we applied for turkey tags, starting to get some zones and some times in. I shouldn't say zones because I'm zone 2 or whatever that is, but we're getting times. So allocating that for people to turkey hunt. The turkeys are out here full-fledged. And then it's kind of neat because my cameras expire. Well, I cut off my subscription, and when I put it in, they say that you've paid whatever for the month. So it goes till January 5th.
Yeah.
So I've taken a couple cameras in. Just taking the batteries out so I don't ruin it. There's 2 more still out there, and I just showed you a picture as we started. There's a nice 8-pointer who looks like he got thumped by a bow, or I shouldn't even say that. I don't know what weapon. It looks like he got thumped in the neck, but if anybody did that around here, he survived. Yeah. And then there's a bigger 10. There's a 10. I haven't seen that 12-pointer that got away, but that 10-pointer, and he is beat up. I have a picture. I got to find it. I was going to show it to you. He's just beat up, and I don't know if that happened first rut, second rut, but it seemed like every time he would show up on camera, something was wrong. like he's a big boy, but I think he just gets his ass kicked all the time.
Well, and it just goes to show how tough the rut and the actual deer season is on these deer, and just how tough they actually are. I just want to mention this quick. There are some caveats or like some, exclusions or inclusion for armed forces members. I don't know if you knew this, but I'll just read both of these from the Wisconsin DNR website. So for bucks, qualified active duty armed forces members may harvest a buck deer with their gun buck harvest authorization with any legal weapon during any firearms season, including antlerless only seasons. Gun buck deer harvest authorizations are provided with the purchase of a gun deer license. So, very simply put, even if there is an antlerless season that is happening, armed forces members have an exclusion for that they are still able to take bucks during that time.
That's nice.
And then for antlerless deer, qualified active duty armed forces members may use one farmland antlerless deer harvest authorization issued with their gun deer license to harvest an antlerless deer in any deer management unit statewide, including buck-only units, during a season open to deer hunting with firearms. The hunter must adhere to the land type, public or private, listed on the authorization. Farmland antlerless deer harvest authorizations may be selected with the purchase of a gun deer license. So basically, they have the right to be able to shoot does even if it is a buck-only territory.
Didn't we talked about that? Remember when we were saying, man, there was just like there were situations where I believe that I wish they would give 2 weekends of free fishing because you can't make it. You might not be able to do this weekend. You got a wedding or you got a graduation.
Yeah.
But if 2 of those, and there's free camping or whatever it is, the parks. And I think we had mentioned this a couple years ago about that. Service, active members from service and the military come home at different times during the holidays, whether they're leavers. I think that's a great little scenario that they present and they offer to the military personnel.
Well, especially because it seems like every week in December is some sort of special unit.
Right.
You know,
right.
I mean, it just seems
so that
kind
way,
of silly, but then that way they're not
yes.
excluded from trying to fill a buck tag.
Correct.
You know, because like you said, I mean, they could be here, you know, the middle of December and all of a sudden we're in an antlerless, or maybe they're home right for Christmas and then we're in a holiday hunt and
they get 4 days home or something like that, or I don't, I apologize, I don't know how that works, but a small leave or a short leave, and they don't fit into the right season. So I think that's great.
And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh well, I would like to. I've got a buck at my place. I would like to be able to take that, and I can't. Yes. So no exclusions there, which is really nice. But it's been kind of an interesting season, I would just say, because it feels like it's been forever. Yeah, I mean, think about that. Shooting a deer on the 4th day of the season to now, that was 4 months ago. I don't know, or whatever it was. I don't know, 3.5 months ago. It's like, holy cow.
It is. It's funny. And you were just telling the story the other day to somebody who was here. We were dragging a deer out, and you said, whoa. Paul wasn't even here, and he called me. I couldn't get it on the 4-wheeler. I didn't know what I was doing. You even said that was the first animal that you field dressed by yourself.
Right.
And so, again, that seemed like so long ago, but not so long ago, just yesterday. It's just weird how the hunting seasons go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, that one wasn't so stressful because I've never done it solo before. I've always shot deer with my dad. Yeah. So we just tag team it and we're able to clean it and whatever. And so I'm out here by myself and I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least nobody's around. So if I screw this up somehow, it won't be a big deal. Well, then, I take a doe in the last couple of minutes of the gun season and I've got a freaking audience here. And I'm just thinking, I remember I even said at one point, I'm like, what do you guys think? Do you think that's all right? And it just is so easy. I called my dad after that, and I'm like, I don't know where we're going to find the guys, but if we can find a couple more guys to be out there
to pull legs and help and
hold it up and do whatever,
blood.
and oh man, it just was so easy. But I mean, I think all in all, honestly, just a really a fun season. Just because, how many memories have you and I shared out here now, and having some of the other guys come out here and just being able to kind of go through that. You had a ball player out here and some of the other guys. So it's just been it's been kind of a wild ride.
So those guys that are coming up or getting ready to leave for spring training or whatever, they're like, okay, what are we going to do here? We don't have to be down in Maryvale till whatever. What do we got next? I go, well, we got rabbit hunts. So now I think we'll be doing some rabbit hunts. So you'll be out here for that. You come out here, we'll do some rabbit hunts. And, then we go into the turkey season in the spring. So it's like, there's always something to do. There's always fun. Obviously, there's a lot of squirrels. There's a lot of things going on here. But the rabbit hunts are coming up, and I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I think rabbit season ends. I think it's always that last weekend of February. So a lot of the local establishments, the bars and the taverns, all have their 4-man. They usually have 4-man rabbit hunts.
Okay.
The majority that I've seen right now that we've signed up for, that we've have guys signed up for, they're telling me it's 4 guys, $10 a man, $40. Obviously, no weight because of. Remember, we talked about guys cheating and fishing.
Right.
I guess a long time ago, guys were cheating with rabbits. So again, it's just your 12 rabbits. you just get into it. Unfortunately, it's a draw. No, there's no sticking lead in rabbits' butts. But but a lot of them are coming up, and it seems like it's every weekend. So it should be exciting. It's more shooting, more walking around, and more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you had kind of mentioned, turkey season's coming up. So I think it was it like the 15th or the 16th, something like that? So it's such a fast turnaround from the deadline to applying to actually finding out like what your award is for your turkey season. So I know one guy got the first week. I got the second period B. You also got period B, I think. Yep. And then I have another buddy that got period C. So it's like 3 weeks in a row that I might be running around chasing birds here. Yeah. But it's just so weird how it's like December 10th, and then almost immediately you find out. But then it takes like 3 months. I don't know if they're like sending pigeons out to get the postcard in the mail, but they send it out right when you can actually buy your tags. So, but it is nice just to know, if you're planning for it, or maybe you're like hunting a different zone that you don't live in, you can at least and then you can plan for that. Like, hey, I'm going up to the cabin, right? For week 3 or whatever.
And then again, like you always monitor, I think it's sometime in March. Remember the extra tags go on sale March 21, 22, 23, 24, 4 days for that week.
And it's all like kind of right around the same time. Whenever you can actually buy your license for that year, that's when the extra tags go on sale right around that. I think it's like a week after, like they give everybody their chance to buy the tag, and then
they go, then
they do something with all the extras. So, Bear points were awarded, so we're up to 4 now, and you're up to like 400 or whatever you got.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for people.
So I think after this year, then I think I should be okay to actually put in for actual tag. So that'll be good. So hopefully with 5.
Yes.
So that should be enough. And I don't know, how does that work? Like, what if you apply but you don't have enough points to get in? How does that work?
Then you just get a preference point.
Okay, so that is how it works.
Yeah, you won't lose your points.
So maybe I should have just done that this year.
Well, were you going? Yeah, possibly, because would we have been able to go this September? I think let's just say opening bear is September 5th of 2026. Let's just say we don't do that. But at least the following year, we can have Joe Flater on here. He'll be we're definitely going to go up to Holcomb. And it's a great area. He's got the cabins, the cottages. He's got the bar, the food, and the restaurant. And then he baits for us starting, I believe, July 4th.
Okay.
Whenever they're legal up there. And, again, it'll be fun. You go up there, you'll see your site. We'll go up there one time and just take a look at it, see where you want to be, make sure your stand's good. Yeah. You feel comfortable in it. It's strapped in good. And then when it's time to shoot, it's time to shoot.
Yeah. 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 And, of course, you want to go there because you want to relive the glory days, right? Yes. See the bear in the corner. We can all take our picture there. And, oh, that's good. So let's jump into a couple things. First and foremost, it sounds like there has been I think it was an agriculture. I'm going to just read the exact title of it so I don't sound like a complete idiot. But the Pet and Livestock Protection Act of 2025 passes Congress. So you're probably asking, what does that mean? A legislative victory for American hunters. The Pet and Livestock Protection Act of 2025 passes Congress. This now means that we are one step closer to delisting the wolf, which, if you remember, about 2 months ago, the Wisconsin Congress, I'm not sure which one it was, have put the groundwork in to change the back end of the process for a Wisconsin wolf hunt.
I think you did. You said it was Tom Tiffany, wasn't it, Tom? And then and a woman out of Colorado.
They worked like in collaboration,
putting it together so that all states could maybe possibly abide.
So they're trying to work on removing the gray wolf from the Endangered Species Act. And it requires an agency to reissue the November 2020 delisting rule, which was vacated by a federal court in 2022. This action finally restores science-based wolf management and returns authority to the states where it belongs, which I've always been in favor of that. I'd rather have a local person who is actually in the state, who knows what's happening.
Right.
So by 2024, the wolf issue had reached a breaking point. The Great Lakes wolf populations had climbed to 4,000 to 5,000, 10 times the goals of what was in place. Ranchers are losing livestock at unprecedented rates. Elk, deer, and moose populations were suffering measurable impacts. Federal agencies refuse to acknowledge the science or voices of rural communities. So here's like an infographic. The mid-1990s, there was 20,000 elk and 1,000 moose in the Great Lakes area, and there were 14 wolves.
Yeah.
The current population, elk are down 75% to 5,000, and there's less than 200 moose. And for this specific area that they're talking about, wolves are up 750%, which, like, granted, it's a small number, but 120 for this specific area. Wow. So, so Hunter Nation is whose article I'm actually reading right now. The CEO and founder, Keith Mark, says this is a policy change that we've been fighting for since our founding. The recovery of the gray wolf is an incredible conservation success story that should be celebrated. This legislation allows each state to manage the now recovered wolf population just as they manage all other wildlife within the state. Totally fair point.
Right.
The best part of this legislation is a provision that prevents judicial review of the legislative action, which will preclude anti-hunting groups from interfering with sound science-based conservation in court. So that's a pretty big step in the right direction.
Right.
So if we think back to when that, and I think it was still when Tim was a part of the show, was, his initial thing was, well, yeah, but it still has to be delisted. But the whole reason they laid the groundwork for that in the state of Wisconsin was when this actually does go through and the wolves are delisted.
It's a clean sale.
The whole kind of cycle restarts in the state of Wisconsin, where they still have to get their numbers, like what are they estimated at? They still have to do their quota. And remember, one of the big things with the quota the last time was that it was the same guidelines as deer hunting, where you had, your 5 p.m. the next day.
Right.
Now they're changing it so that they can try and be as accurate and as quick to get the numbers in place as possible. It's like 8 hours or 5 hours.
Sort of like sturgeon. Remember we we did that whole sturgeon thing up on Winnebago, where they just cut it off. They could cut it off at any time. You harvest 63 sturgeon, boom, we're done.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was, what was it, like 36 hours? It was like 48 hours, I think it was. And we were, I don't know, if it was like 110 or 112 that we were looking for a quota in the state of Wisconsin, we were at like 180 in no time.
Right.
So, which, to be fair,
I get it.
Right.
I do.
And if nothing else, it just proves the point of, there's a lot of wolves out there, and the people who know where they're at, or they're impacting their livestock, or they're impacting like deer herds in their area, they don't have a problem finding them. No. So it will be interesting to see how this kind of comes together and how this plays out now. So does that mean that there's going to be a wolf hunt in 2026 in the state of Wisconsin? We don't know that yet, but we'll be able to kind of keep an eye on it and just kind of see where things go. And I guess,
well, we know that whenever they do it, I should get a tag, because I have two preferences. I have that first year I got a preference point, and then the second year I applied, and then they banned it. So
right.
So I should have 2 preference points.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and hopefully it's not, because just remember how bad that was. It was like there was so much confusion around license sales and like, are you getting a preference point or whatever?
Right.
You know, it just always seems so weird. Okay, the other story that I was going to mention was this whole thing with KUIU. And I don't really have all of the information, but I'm going to try and explain this as good as I can.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
It's KUIU, right?
Yeah.
KUIU?
KUIU?
KUIU.
And why it's that, I'm sure it has like an African meaning or something like that. It sounds like tribal almost. You know, I don't know.
Or, I found out random. Somebody else's numbers, a name, and I'm going to use it because it's the facility I used to work at for baseball, and it's called Sticks. So Sticks is a baseball, STIKS. I find out now that the word came up because the initials of the daughters and the family members. Okay. So Sean. Obviously, Sticks. Sean is the owner, or was the owner until he combined with Greg. But so could it be Karen Ursula?
What's the other name?
I guess I'm gonna go with your African,
or like a tribal something.
Yes, I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, so we all have heard about this. Like corner crossing, like it's been a really, really substantial thing out in the western states like Montana and some of those where there's been these big kind of like controversies over this. Like, how are we supposed to access this? And, you know, people are buying parcels of land to like intentionally landlock some parts of like public hunting grounds. Well, all a part of that, there was a billionaire who attempted to limit public access to public lands is now the owner of KUIU. And I don't, I'm probably going to just think, am I saying this correct every single time? That owner, that billionaire, is tied to a very public fight in Montana where people legally floating and accessing navigable public waterways were challenged because those waters ran past his property. So I was even thinking originally that it was like through his property, but it was past. So it sounds like this is on the edge. Under Montana law, the public has the right to use those waters, but lawsuits and pressure were used in an attempt to push people out anyway. That alone should matter to hunters, anglers, and anyone who believes conservation means access, not exclusion. What made this blow up, and this is where it gets interesting, what made this blow up nationally is what happened next. A longtime writer connected to Ducks Unlimited wrote critically about the situation, questioning why a so-called conservationist was trying to stop the public from using public waters and was promptly fired after the article ran. That sent a clear message to a lot of people in the hunting world. Criticize powerful conservation money and your voice could disappear. So now that the same billionaire conservation money owns a major hunting brand, it's fair to ask the uncomfortable question. Is it really a good idea for quote-unquote conservationists who uses his money to kick people off public land to own a hunting brand as big as KUIU? Yeah. Okay, and that's words from Steven Ziegler. He's an outdoor writer, and he's also the owner of DeLong Lures. I love that this, so Rack Junkies is a Facebook page that I pulled this from. The first comment is from Rack Junkies, and it says, after being contacted by some people who have interacted with billionaires, I've been advised to say allegedly. Oh, man. So I don't know. It's interesting because obviously we want to be able to access public land wherever we can. But, yes. Mr. Wagner, let me ask you this. If you had... Say you had 1,000 acres and you had a very well-known waterway that was, say it was even just running through like a corner of your property. Maybe it was like just in like the back acre or whatever, but it still crossed your land. And maybe it would be a different story if it ran right through the middle. Okay. But for this example, we'll just say in the corner. How would you feel about that, knowing that people, and it's not like a good or a bad thing, but it's just like how would you feel about knowing that people can float through your property on these like public waterways?
I really would have no problem with it.
Okay.
Do I have an issue if my property is a sandbar? Or let's just say it turns, meanders, and they get off and they're throwing garbage on my property.
Right.
Or
they take a dump on your property.
Exactly right.
Right.
Taking, they're standing by the tree, waving, taking a leak or something like that. I think if you're just floating through, I have no problems at all.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that these situations only occurred because people, though they were floating through public navigable waters, they were getting off of the boat, the raft, the canoe. And then there's a fine line. When you look at a highway or a road, isn't it something where the first 6 feet off of a road are still state or public owned? So like, the road runs through, you're cutting your lawn because you cut next to the road, but technically the first 6 feet or the 6 feet additional belongs to the state.
Like median or whatever.
So they can run power lines. We Energies can come through there. Frontier can come through. DirecTV, whatever it is, Spectrum, they can come through there and they can access it. I don't know what that is. So if you have public navigable water stream going through your property, does the law state that 6 feet into the property is public too?
Yeah.
And maybe people were taking advantage of that. If you stay in your canoe, your boat, your kayak,
you're just floating through.
Fine.
Not a
I
problem.
have no problem at all. But if you start coming up throwing garbage and hanging out and say, hey, wait, this first 6 feet, guys are laying there with a tent, then I got a problem.
This is not a campsite. Okay,
right,
sir,
right.
You're
exactly. Hey, can you run power down here?
Yeah.
No.
How many trail cameras would you run along that way just to monitor activity is the real question.
Or maybe you wouldn't want to.
Right. Yeah, maybe you wouldn't want to. I think for me, it would, okay, so we're talking about 1,000 acres and we're talking about like maybe on like a corner of the property. Now, I think it would be very different if it was through the middle of a property. Obviously, that is like, now it starts to feel like somewhat invasive. But then you think about it and it's like, okay, well, like your place, I mean, you've got 100 feet and you're at the road, or like my house, it's 50 feet and you're at the road. So it's not really different, but just something about that, just knowing that people are like floating through and that there could be somebody out there at any given point in time. It's like a little weird to me for some reason. But I think it all depends on the situation. Like, where is the actual, like, navigable waterway?
I guess. I just, something had to have happened for this to come up. And if I have no problem. Even if it's the middle, you buy your property. That's like the guy that buys his property by the airport and says, I got this 500 acres.
Right.
Man, he goes petition the county council and he says, we've got to stop planes from coming in here. Or I buy this 300 acres.
This is my airspace, sir.
I buy a dairy farm and it stinks. We got to change this. Partner. The dairy farm's been there you go look at their established in 1850. And you just bought this 2 years ago. Now you're going to bitch about the manure smell.
The stink's been here since before you were born.
So something must have happened with it. I don't really have a problem. I really don't. If I know I have a public water, and I've known that, we've duck hunted, we've fished, we've trout streamed, I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I get it. Something had to have happened because there's a fine line there, and you can't go on to the private.
Yeah.
You stay public, you stay public.
Yeah, if you stay on the water, you stay on the water.
I
guess this hits a little closer to home than I really realized. I mean, if we were on the other side of the road at our place, we would have people floating through all the time because the river's right there.
That's true.
But then again, that's not like technically on their property or anything either. But
oh yeah, and your walkway, isn't it to, like, if I walk out your back patio door to the right, there's like a walking
it's a public
path.
walkway, yeah.
But again, that's not your property. That's, you already known that. That's
right.
But still, that's there.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's not as strange to
Something
me as,
had to have happened to create the stir.
Yeah.
Because you can't necessarily just fight that. I don't think you
Yeah.
can just fight that with random just looking at something. Something must have. You must have, example A, B, C,
Right.
D, and E. This is what's happened. This is why I need to
right.
eliminate this.
Yeah,
But-
because who would stick their neck out and make such a public stink about something? And granted, this all happened before this guy bought the brand, but who would put their neck out and make such a stink about something? I guess if you're a billionaire, it doesn't really matter. But why would you even want to do that unless there was a
Somebody
reason for
floating.
it?
Exactly. If you're
Yeah.
talking Montana, you're talking elk, or we're talking whatever, muleys or whitetails, and you're floating down the river and there's some feet there. If that is the rule, and you shoot, I don't know. You're not supposed to shoot from a boat,
Right.
or you can. Wait, you can't shoot, but you can shoot You can shoot ducks from a boat.
Right.
So were they chasing? Were they going down there? They chase birds up. Birds
Yeah.
popped up. They shoot the birds. They land on the guy's property. He goes over there and picks up the bird.
Without asking for
Without
permission,
asking. And
or-
how can
yeah.
you find someone? I have 1,000 acres. You're in the back of nowhere. It's not
Right.
posted. Hey, if you shoot a bird out of the water and he lands on your property, call me at blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You don't have that, so you walk
Right.
up and you go grab your bird, or something to that effect. There has to be an example of a reason why. I believe
There's got to be
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't have to worry about it because A, I don't have 1,000 acres.
Yep.
And B, I don't have a river going through my place.
And I can't afford to go to Montana and shoot elk or.
Oh, man. Well, and it just kind of begs the question. I mean, talking about waterfowl now, how nice would it be? Well, I probably wouldn't right now because it's so freaking cold, but how nice would it be to just shoot a buck early and then, get your deer taken care of? Maybe you want to shoot 2 does that year because that's
Right.
what you need for meat.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got all of November to shoot ducks. That's what my brother does.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I know a
and
lot
they
of guys
just-
that do that.
They love being
Yes.
able to do that. And I'm like, man, how great would that be? The problem is, Sherry would be like, "Well, you shot a deer. Why do you need to?
What, do you
got
got to keep going on?
What are you doing?" Well, I just got this shotgun this year, honey. So I gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that would go over very
So the
well,
guy we
but-
mentioned with Joe Flater, who's going to do our guiding for the bear, Joe also is a muskie guide up there. So Joe usually shoots his buck first, early,
Okay.
gets his meat processed. He likes to bring out all his venison sausage for all the Packer games and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And the Badger games, he does that. And then when gun season opens, he cold water muskie fishes. And I told
Okay.
you about that. So he fishes a lot. So it's nice. He said the river runs. Obviously, it's not frozen, but
Right.
the river runs, and they'll fish cold water muskies floating down the river. And then they'll look up in the woods and they'll see orange jackets, and they're like, "Man, this is great. My deer's done.
nice.
These guys are sitting in a tree, and I'm fishing cold water muskies."
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It made me think of this because I was telling you before, I had a meeting with the distillery earlier this week, and the guy's a big hunter, and he's got all this land, and he was just talking about it's so nice. I mean, I've shot deer early every year for the last 4 years. I just spend all my fall shooting waterfowl. I could do whatever I want. I could set goose spreads, or I can do whatever. And I'm like, well, when do you usually start chasing birds then? And he's like, well, this year was unusual. This was the first year I shot my target buck on day 2 of the season.
Oh, really?
The last 3 years I've shot my target buck on the first day of the season.
Really?
So he's like, I'm so big into patterning whitetails that I'd rather catch them before anything changes, be done early, and then I can do whatever I want. I can go out to Montana, I can go sit on the riverbank, or I can do whatever I want
Yeah.
because I'm done already.
There's
I've got my
many-
whitetail
There's
done.
yeah, but I like the fact that the rut. So I understand his point. It
Right.
makes sense if that's what he believes deer hunting is, and he works the whole summer to pattern.
Yeah.
And he wants to get that target buck prior to. But there's also a different way to look at it. We like to see it. Me personally, I like to sit here and not know what's coming.
Yeah.
I do. I like to know what's on my cameras. I have them. Don't get me wrong. We see them, but it's also kind of neat to be sitting there and not knowing what's happening.
Right.
I like that too. I don't take whitetail deer hunting as a job. Like he says, I got my tiger. So his whole summer, he's farming, he's doing this. Oh, I want that buck. Okay, great. You want that buck. Well, okay. And you shoot him the first day. Yes, now you can water.
Right.
Well, so obviously his list of loves, whitetail is not the top of the list, where waterfowl is
could be
the top of the list.
Or I mean, the other side of it that we haven't really mentioned is, I mean, what happens in September and October? He's out there harvesting.
True.
So he probably thinks, I got to get this done, and I don't have time after this. So the sooner I can get this done, the more I can focus on the farm and, running the business and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. I'm driving the combine. I got my, my 18 row or 12 row, whatever combine. Right. And there goes my buck. What? I got to work. So, I definitely see different points, but I don't like that because we use here with you, with the guys that come around here, we use the hunting season as a 3-month party and get together, whereas I don't look at it as a chore where I want a story about the bucks that we shoot. I want a story about the does that we drag and stuff like that. I want those stories. I don't just want to say, I got it. But different strokes for
now
different
you
folks.
got 3 months worth of shit laying around the barn.
I know. I go, that's where that hat is. Why do you have 5 hats out here? Well, because I forgot where I left the other one.
Well, you're at least much more organized, like with your ammo and like your broadheads and all that stuff. I'm usually like, shoot, I'm shooting field points right now. Where are my broadheads at? Well, I guess I'm going to Fleet Farm, or I'm going to Cabela's because I'm in the area buying another pack.
Yeah, and I did it. Remember, I got one. Nick gave us some from. So Nick gave us from Faradine, and I couldn't find them. I couldn't find them, and he was great and gracious enough to send me some more. And then, well, that I found them. So now, so now I have two, 3 packs. So I got 6. I got almost 12, but I did shoot a couple. So, but it was like, if I'd have been more organized, I wouldn't have to bother him again and use a favor because Nick has access to so much. Dang it! I wasted it on broadheads that I already had.
I know.
I'd like to hit him up for something else.
I know. But I mean, it just goes back to like, look how many cool connections we've been able to make. And I've actually, I won't say it on air, but I've got a story to tell you about Nick. And I talked to him this week, and just a cool connection that he's going to make for us, for somebody that we can hopefully, fingers crossed, have on the show.
Good.
So he's doing really good. And it started because I reached out to him about ATA.
Oh.
And he said, I don't know if I told you this, but my wife is expecting. And her due date we are expecting. Her due date is January 10th. I said, you're not going
to
So, but I don't know. All right, we're at like 45 minutes. I don't know if you got anything else or.
No, I did. We had some other things, and I kind of forgot about them. So we'll readdress them again.
Yeah.
But I just, if it is the last show before the end of the year, again, I'm glad we picked up where it could have fallen and been passed. And and we kind of grabbed our boots by the straps, and me and you figured it out, or we did things, and I think this is a good new avenue for us. I really do. I enjoy it. I don't know how it's going to be when baseball starts. So it's going to be tough. We're going to have to try to figure this out, and obviously those are hurdles we'll jump when we get there. But I like the fact that we're going down to the ATA show. We're spreading our wings a little bit, and hopefully we can meet more people and get more people involved. And you had even said, I don't know the exact celebrity, let's just say quote unquote celebrity TV hosts that we see, but people have commented that you've said that they've commented actually on the Chris Ham interview.
Right.
So it'll be neat to go down there. Obviously they don't know who we are, but now we start shaking hands, kissing babies, and the next thing you know, hey, get a conversation up, whether it's about baseball, whether it's about radio, because you're going to run into a bunch of people that country music stuff. I'm sure I'm going to run into some baseball guys that we know of that I haven't seen in years, and we're going to strike up conversations and hopefully, just expand our guest panel, which will be nice.
I'm sure, and I think I'm hoping this all kind of works out. Like all the Buck Commander guys are typically there because of the Barnett crossbows.
Yeah.
So maybe you can reconnect with some of those guys there, and I'm sure we'll see some other guys. I mean, there's so many people, from athletics that are into the hunting and fishing world that I'm sure we'll run into a couple people.
I'll tell you what, and if they call him Tombo now, if Tom Martin says he doesn't remember me, I'm going to kick him square in the nuts because
I'm going to film the interaction. I'm going to kick him square in the nuts.
I don't remember you. I got so many good things. I've done so many things, but all those baseball players are pretty good, and the baseball community is pretty good. They should, obviously they may pretend they remember me, but then when we start talking, it'll click back. But not a situation where I can walk by and they'll say, "Hey, there goes Paul."
Right.
But hey, we start talking. So hopefully we do that with a lot, and
and
the next year could be really, really special, and then we become a fixture at the ATA. And then we go somewhere else, and then we do a lot of other shows and stuff like that. So see what happens.
Well, good. Before we go, just want to give a quick mention to one of our sponsors, Charisma Customs in Delafield. If you're in southeastern Wisconsin or even northern Illinois or kind of middle of the state, they are the go-to place to help protect your investment. So whether you have UTVs, ATVs, trucks, motorcycles, cars, whatever that might be, they are your place for ceramic coatings, which is super nice, paint protection film, which is super nice. So if you are, taking the UTV through the woods and you've got brush and stuff and whatever, and it just helps kind of protect the coating. And not only that, but they also have stereos, remote starts, detailing. So, Mr. Podcast listener, if you haven't bought your wife something yet, you need to get her a gift. You can still get a gift certificate for a remote start, for a detailing, for whatever she may or may not be thinking about right now, and surprise her with that for Christmas. So
one of my baseball kids, and I'm not going to say anything, but he's related. So I heard that the owner, your buddy, our buddy now, was a very, very good drummer.
Okay.
Very good drummer. And I don't know if you've had a time to mention it to him or not yet.
Okay.
But
I have not.
Cover bands. He used to.
Interesting.
Not a guy that just you'd see up at the corner bar. No, a real good. And I don't know where his talents have taken him. And I'm curious to meet him. I have not met him yet.
Yeah.
I met him about 4 years ago at a golf outing. He did Zabin's golf outing. And they've always had stuff at, we were out Washington County, I believe at that time was Zabe. And I met him one time, but I haven't since. And they were his nephew, or this would be his cousin, or told me some stories about what he's done and how accomplished he is. And I want to know if he was feeding this little guy BS or real.
So I wonder about that because, I'll tell you the story off air because I don't want to say it out loud, and then people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that!" But it ties back to Oconomowoc.
It does.
So I'll mention that off air.
Yeah.
So I've got two stories to tell you now. So you can, in our private conversations after the show.
So you can go in there, get your wife.
I will.
You can get your friends. You can get gifts for that. You can get remote starts, clean up details and stuff. But then if you're musically inclined, which I am not, I can't even sing Happy Birthday. If you're musically inclined, you can strike up a conversation there as well.
Yeah. So you're not singing the national anthem at a Doc Counts game next year?
Nope.
Okay. Nope. All right. Well, good. All right. Well, another year in the books for us, Paul, that we're just kind of looking back, and I don't know, maybe we'll be able to find some time that week between Christmas and New Year's to sit down and kind of talk about some things, and maybe in advance of the ATA show, or what are we looking forward to or something like that. But worst case, we'll do something kind of like a rehash of the ATA show. Yeah,
and one more thing I forgot to mention. We did, if you're not familiar, we do a Wings with Wags. We do chicken wings. We do a lot of fundraisers for many, many organizations, Honor Flight, et cetera, et cetera. This last one we did one with Wisconsin Spina Bifida.
Okay.
And A great turnout, and we will start mentioning it now because this was the fourth event and the final one for the year, and I didn't really push it at all. But again, they're great events. We have raffles, we have silent auctions, we have gun raffles. You won one at one of ours, that was the .com one. Yeah, you won that shot.
Thank you to my Venmo account that had $200 in it that day.
But we do a lot. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the people that came out there. We were at a bar in Monchez. I believe it's considered Monchez Merton area called Ox and Cats, and we did that for Wisconsin Spina Bifida. It was a great turnout, especially with the snowmobile trails opening up. And what a great event again. Guns were won, meat raffles were won, 50-50, silent auctions. What a great thing. But we will keep you abreast on the more that we have, especially going into the 2026.
As you start planning for your next season. Yeah. So, well, good. Here we go. I don't know, episode 2 something. Here we are. And, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year if we don't talk to you. But, again, you can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you consume podcasts. We're there. Like, subscribe, leave us a review. And, here we go. I think there's going to be probably quite a few cocktails consumed in the next 2 weeks by us. So we'll figure out if we've got time to maybe talk about the show or any of that stuff. But, thanks for listening. And we'll probably talk to you after the new year.